Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Tech episode 251. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell,
Hey,
how are
what's
you
up?
this week?
Doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Been a busy week here coming into the holidays, and we actually have some interesting news stories to talk about. So I say we just jump right into the rigmarole. Um,
All right.
We will say, if Montrell's audio is a little off, he's out of town right now, recording on kind of a makeshift setup. So bear with us on that. Thank you. But he sounds fine, in my opinion. But people are pretty sensitive about that stuff. So, all right. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Marshall, let's get into the show and start with what we've been playing. You were mentioning you're not really playing much you want to talk about. Is there anything you want to get into specifically?
Yeah, unfortunately, this has been an extremely busy week for me. So I've only been playing like Devil May Cry still, and like maybe one or two games of League.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm out of town right now, and it's not like I'm out of town for vacation, y'all. I'm like literally in Waco right now.
He's on a work trip.
Yeah, so it's just been extremely busy for me right now. So unfortunately, I haven't got a chance to play too many games this week.
It's all good. I played a good amount of stuff this week. So, been playing Honkai. Not much to say there. I still have Star Ocean on here. I don't remember much. Did I talk about beating the game last week or no?
No, you were almost
I
about
was
to beat
close.
it.
Okay, so I did
Yeah.
beat this game. Okay, I did beat this game this week. I didn't have time to go back and listen because I forgot. Like, did I beat this game this week or not? Yeah. So I finished Star Ocean Second Story R. Nothing crazy happens at the end of the story that really like pulled me in like super deeply. So this game is good. I'm not as high on it as I think a lot of other people are. I think there's just an acceptance for me that Star Ocean is kind of a B tier franchise as a JRPG, and that's kind of what it is. If this is the best that it has to offer, that's pretty much how I feel about it at this point. Not to say it's a bad game; it's a good game. It's fun. The story is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. There are some fun characters that you can recruit in the party, and there's some interesting systems in the game for a game this old too. But overall, I think it's just solid mostly. It's a solid. It's a very good remake. The remake is really well done and polished. So I would recommend it on that regard, especially if you're looking for something more retro style. This is certainly it. So outside of Star Ocean, played some League, a little bit, not too much this week, and then some Dota 2 as well. Been getting into that with Brad. While I'm dealing with harassment in the Discord, trying to play this game, earlier in the week, but so that's been fun. Only played a few games of it though, so still getting my feet back under me.
Okay.
And then the other game I've been playing, I did pick something new up after Star Ocean, so is something called Against the Storm. So this is an interesting game. It just came out like, I don't know, a week ago, 10 days ago, something like that. And I mentioned this, it was on sale. I bought it while it was on sale for its, first couple launch weeks. And it's a roguelike city builder. So it's interesting. So it's a settlement building game where your goal is to build settlements, successful settlements, basically. But the game doesn't operate the way city builders do, though. It has a progression system outside of the main city building element of the game, which is kind of, now that I'm into it, certainly keeping me invested in this game for sure. So it's roguelike in the sense that you build settlements and they're not intended to be long-term things. Like you build a settlement and you play for like maybe an hour and you finish your settlement and that's it, and you move on. Like you leave that settlement and you move on to the next one. which is interesting because most of these games don't operate that way. It's usually you're building this giant like City Skylines or Sim City or something like that. You're trying to build this gigantic city, in those games and keep it operating efficiently. Whereas in this game, that is not the case, at least so far. I'm sure later in the game, your settlements are going to get larger, and you're going to need to spend more time on them. But for now, in the early game, it takes anywhere between like 30 minutes to an hour probably to complete a settlement. That's been my experience so far. I've done four. Two of those were tutorials, so they were a little bit easier and more hand-holdy and whatnot. But I've done two not tutorial ones, and this game is interesting. It's not super easy, so it's a game. It has a very like I'd say in terms of the art, it's got a kind of a Warcraft 3 aesthetic, which certainly attracted me to it. But also the game takes place in this weird like fantasy-ish world where there are all these kind of more like fantasy races. Like there's humans in the game, but then there's like beavers, lizard men, harpies, and then I think foxes, and they're all anthropomorphic, you know, humanoid
Yeah.
races, basically. So um the goal is, generally speaking, you have to fill this like reputation bar with what you're doing. And to do that, there are multiple ways to do that generally, but the most common way is to fulfill something called orders, where the game will give you an objective basically within your settlement that you have to complete, and you'll get reputation for that amongst other rewards as well. But there's other ways to get reputation. You can get it from random events that happen in the game. So the game takes place, your settlements, you build them in like a forest basically, and you start in the middle, and then there'll be this huge kind of map around you that's completely unexplored, and the goal is to kind of expand yourself into that forest and explore the forest. And then there will be random events in these things called glades, and glades are basically just small little clearings. They can be very large and they can be very small. The bigger ones have more rewards but are also more dangerous to your settlement. They may have events that like kill your workers, or will cause them to become very unhappy and they might leave, shit like that. So it's a very interesting game in that regard because there's no direct like combat or anything so far. Like enemies don't attack you. You don't have a military. It's nothing like that. It's purely city building, but there are hostile elements in the game that you have to manage. So I enjoy that. There's also a huge amount of resource management, I guess, in the games, because there's all sorts of resources that you can like naturally occurring resources that you can farm with your workers, and that's kind of the underlying foundational economy of the game, right? You get
Yeah.
these resources and then you use them to do stuff, and that helps grow your settlement. You can make food with it that will make your workers happy. You can use that to build shelters for your workers. You can build them homes and stuff like that. So there's this whole kind of branching economy with the game that I find very fascinating. I think it's really well done. This game is actually getting really good reviews out there right now. And this is kind of just a surprise game that just came out of nowhere for me. I knew nothing about it, and I just saw it and it looked interesting, and I'm giving it a shot. And so far, like this is probably the best thing I've played in a few months. Like I'm very into this game right now. So I'm probably gonna get pretty deep with it. The progression system in the game though is outside of the settlements. There's a giant world map that you have to explore, and there are kind of randomized terrain elements that will have points of interest on the map that you need to go find. I've not actually made it to these yet, because the game has a time mechanic in it where it's something called the blights the blight storm that will happen every so often. And if you get there, your all your settlements get destroyed by this storm, and you have to go back to the main citadel where it's protected, and you basically start from zero after that. I haven't gotten through a cycle yet, so I don't know what that exactly looks like, but that's basically what the game has told me will happen. And I'm about halfway to the first cycle so far, so I'm learning the game right now and enjoying it a lot. It's fun. If you're a city builder player and you're kind of looking for something different, this might be a game worth looking at for sure. So yeah, it's very fun game. I'm gonna keep playing it. I think I'm also thinking about. I did end up buying Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty earlier in the week, which fucking pissed myself off because I did it. I did it on Monday, I think, and then there's a fucking PlayStation sale that started yesterday, and Phantom Liberty's fucking on sale. So I probably wasted $10 or whatever the sale is, but is what it is. Got to live with that. So, um, and also the Steam sale started today, and I think I'm gonna pick up Baldur's Gate 3 too. So, I may be starting that sometime soon as well. You said you were gonna pick that up, right? And you're
Yeah.
we want to do that co-op campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I said I was gonna buy that on Steam. I do have it on Steam, so I'm just waiting for everybody else
Oh, gotcha.
so that we can
Okay.
play it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. You already bought it. It was me. It was me. I think I'm the one that needs to buy it. So, yeah, I'll probably do that in the next couple of days, something like that. So, yeah. So that's pretty much all I've been playing. I did finish Attack on Titan, the rewatch of that as well this week. So, put several hours into that. We're actually probably not going to talk about that this week. We're going to push that to next week. So, yeah, look forward to that. But, all right, Montrell, let us jump into the news. We got two really big stories to talk about this week, and the first one is, man, it is probably one of the biggest game leaks we have ever seen. It involves Insomniac. So they got threatened. Basically, they got hacked. I think this was like a week or two ago. They
Yeah.
got hacked, and a bunch of stuff was stolen from their internal network, and they were ransomed by the group that stole this stuff. They were asking for money. Sony and Insomniac did not pay. Obviously, they didn't pay the ransom, and that has resulted in everything that was stolen being leaked out onto the internet. So this was a huge leak. The biggest thing that was leaked, though, and this kind of happened today, or at least it started to become more prevalent today that I was seeing this out there, is the full game for Wolverine. The build they were able to get their hands on has leaked online. Which is, this was, man, there's been a lot of discussion about this leak, but this part of it is where it starts to kind of go a little too far for me.
Yeah. Yeah. For
um
sure.
because leaks happen, they've happened. I don't think there's any issue with covering them, as somebody who has nothing to do with the leak itself. But leaking a full game, especially like obviously an uncompleted game, one that we've seen nothing of gameplay wise, is that's really rough, man. Like, I think Insomniac and Sony have got to be fucking pissed right now. So I don't know, Montreal, have you looked at this at all? I saw some bits and pieces of gameplay out there, but
So
yeah.
yeah, I saw the articles, but I saw the gameplay when it first was like leaked and stuff like that. So I did see the gameplay, and I see the conversations around the gameplay, and everything of that nature. Um, I mean, so far, as far as gameplay wise, it's kind of what I expected from Insomniac and what they're going to do with a Wolverine game. The game looks good. I wasn't expecting like the Wolverine Origins game. I don't know if anyone played that before, but that was like one of the last Wolverine games that we got that was like actually really good, and it was a movie tie-in game that was actually super good. But it looks like it has elements of that, and or whatever the case may be. But it has its Insomniac's own flair with it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I wasn't really expecting. The gameplay is what I expected, and I'm not really too disappointed in it. A lot of people were disappointed with the gameplay. And whatever the case may be, I I don't care. I think the leaks though surrounding it, it sucks for Insomniac, but rumors is like they didn't even hack; they use social engineering to get inside of it, and
Mm-hmm.
um a lot of people, if you don't know what social engineering is, I mean, IT, we know what it is, obviously, but it's a form of hacking to where you don't even like use coding. You just talk to somebody, maybe through customer service or whatever the case may be. You may even know somebody who works in the studio or whatever the case may be, and you just talk to them. And if you can talk to them really well, you can. get certain information out of them that allows you to hack easier, or allows you to skim, or maybe be around an employee where you can skim their ID cards or something of that nature, walk
Mhm.
inside the company and get stuff information that way. Because honestly, I can't really see an employee unless they're working remotely, and the employee was hacked through like some kind of like other means or something like that. It's kind of hard to like gain access to all this because you would need VPNs and everything to get inside their drives and all
Mm.
this, like their shared
Mhm.
drives and everything of that nature. So I think that's what it is, unfortunately. Uh
Well, yeah, but the other side of that coin is if you're local and you somehow gain access to their office,
yeah,
all you need in order to steal their shit is probably a company device of some sort, and then some kind of login that has access to their internal storage structure. Like that's it.
yep,
That's basically all you need.
yep.
And yeah, that can be easy to obtain depending on who you're talking to. So
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's why like for me personally, like I never do anything on my work computer. Like my work computer is always off my network, always off my
mhm,
home network and everything of that nature, unless I absolutely have to connect it. And when I do connect it, it's on VPN and everything of that nature, the company VPN. Because those actually really do work, people. But anyway, long
yeah,
story short, I do feel bad for Insomniac. I feel bad for the person who uh it's unfortunately they got through, or they could have took multiple avenues to get through, or whatever the case may be. Um, I personally think like Sony's security needs an upgrade. This is not the first time they've been hacked. This is not the first time. I mean, every company has pretty much been hacked at this point, right? But Sony in particular, I just remember back in like 2010 when their whole network got taken down, for a couple
yeah,
months.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. Like I understand what you're saying, but dude, like working in technology, I just it. Not, I'm sure not every company is like this, but dude, it's if somebody if a sophisticated group decides to target you, I don't think there's a lot you can do to defend yourself. Like to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah, you're right. Um, Yeah, I mean, but there are good cybersecurity. The problem is companies don't want to pay for cybersecurity.
No, they don't.
Um, they think just regular IT guys, not the shit on us or whatever. They think we're like the first line defense, or maybe the second line. The first line of defense is actually the users,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and we're like the second line. Then the actual cybersecurity is that last front, because they're trying to defend it throughout all. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I
But
mean,
there's only so much you can do, right? Like
yeah.
let's say they're like let's just talk about like their internal network, right? Let's say Insomniac is poorly laid out the way their internal, network works, and let's say like Karen in accounting somehow has access to the storage drives that house like game builds and shit,
Yeah,
and somebody social engineers and Karen in accounting has no idea what the fuck anybody, what the fuck is going on in this company. She's just a fucking accountant. She's not some
yeah,
tech wizard. She could be she's like fucking 60 and has no idea. It's like, so if you talk to that person and you're savvy enough, somehow trick her into giving you some kind of information that gives you access, or she gives you like, you get access to her work computer or something like that. Like, dude, boom, it's over. They're done. They're in. It's like, and then if they're sophisticated enough, they might be able to do an analysis quickly and figure out a way to get in externally, like into like find an attack vector externally without actually needing to stay like within the network too long, and they can attack from outside potentially too. It's like there's many ways for them to get in. It's like that's my point is like there's just so many different attack vectors in technology that it is impossible for, in my opinion, for any company to truly 100% protect themselves. Like, I
you,
just
you
don't
know,
think
you
that's possible.
you're 100% right. But I do think there are ways that companies can protect themselves to where this doesn't happen,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah.
And they just don't want to use the resources given to them to do it. Like there's this one guy on YouTube that I actually recently subscribed to called Pirate Software. He used to work for Blizzard. Jet put some of his videos in there
Yeah. Yeah.
about it. So he actually he's a ethical hacker, and he did it for Blizzard and everything like that. And he he mentioned one thing. So not only did he mention social engineering, which I already knew about, but he said like if you train people, uh usually it's they people think it's the newer people who are giving out all this information, but what they found out during their research it was that it's actually the older people, like people who have been there for 5 plus years, who are actually like easier to social maneuver or to social engineer and everything of that nature. And after they gave them training and everything like that on social engineering, a lot of those people pass with flying colors instead of like when before it was only the newer people passing with flying colors because they just got the training. So I honestly think it's just training, and people think that you need some kind of grandioso kind of training. And it's like no, just a module or two to remind people like, hey,
Yeah.
these are the questions. If you're dealing with somebody, if you ask me like, hey man, so I know you guys are, the where's the home office at? And I'm like, oh well, I'm in Coppell or whatever the case may be, or I'm in, Louisville or something like that. People can like get that information and kind of like figure out, okay, so this office is in, Louisville, and it's by the McDonald's. So I can if it's by that McDonald's that everyone goes to, that one of the workers go to, I can sit there for a while and probably skim a couple of wallets that are by there, probably get an employee ID, and then go from there. Blah blah blah. But it's just a lot of stuff that people don't realize. And I think everyone has this one version of hackers. They always have this hacker with the hood on, the glasses,
Definitely not, man.
playing some
Those that's
yeah,
not a yeah.
yeah, playing some techno music in the background, like looking like the Matrix and stuff. Like a
No.
lot of these hackers are like really good people, not good people, but they're really good at talking to people. They're not people basement nerds in the basement, is scared to
Right.
come out or whatever the case may be. They have really good social skills. They know how to talk to people. They know how to manipulate people. And I think this is what I honestly think. I wouldn't be surprised if they did some kind of investigation, and that was the number one thing that happened to Insomniac. Because that's
Yeah.
to me, social engineering is one of uh the biggest ways, like one of the biggest ways people get hacked that normal people don't understand.
Yeah.
If
I mean, it
so
could be
so
like, dude, if there's something like your McDonald's example, right? It could be different too. Let's say that McDonald's is within 100 feet of, not even 50 feet of the building,
yeah.
and the Wi-Fi signal goes out that far. They can sit there.
Mm,
They can sit there and connect
oh,
to the Wi-Fi. Like, let's say people go there for lunch, right? And they bring their work laptop, and dude, you could just be sitting behind them, watching them type their password in, their username and password, and bam, you've got an account that has access. You can literally sit in that McDonald's and fucking access the network, and bam, dude, there it is. And it's gonna look like somebody like Susie at lunch is fucking on the network. It's like it's shit like that, dude. Like you wouldn't even think about that, right? But that's the kind of thing, though. That's probably a lot more common than the guy sitting in his fucking apartment with the hood on.
yeah,
Hasn't fucking showered
exactly.
in 3 days.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
But that's the image that people have, and
Right.
I
Well,
just
that's what movies make it look like.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know. So to be honest with you, I really didn't look at none of the like when the full build stuff came out. I didn't go searching for it, to be honest with you, because I was just like, I don't think that's
I'm
fair.
in the same boat. Yeah.
I do want to talk about one other aspect of this though, and I was complaining about it in the chat or whatever, and I don't know if we're going to talk about it later or we're going to talk about it now. Um, but the massive leaks that this behind this and reporting on them, um, I guess I see both sides of the argument, right? Like if we don't report on it, right, then
Well, so just to give people context of what we're talking about, like it,
yeah,
because there was a huge debate out there about, is it ethical to even report on these leaks? Given how damaging they are to Insomniac, should we be reporting on them? Should journalists be reporting on them? Should people be talking about it? Should you be seeking out this stuff as an individual? That was kind of the whole discussion. So go ahead.
yeah. So on one hand, I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand the argument, because I totally get the argument, right? Like we shouldn't be reporting on this because it's giving those people attention. This is the attention they want, and that will encourage future hacking and everything of that nature, right? Um, but on the flip side of that, one, you have to give like attention to this, right?
Hmm.
Because um not only is it it's informal to the public and to other companies, like, wow, this is a big thing that's happening, you know. If you just keep it hush hush, then they're going to keep either doing ransomware attacks and stuff like that, and just keeping it hush hush, and they can just keep getting away with it. Or you can make the public aware of what's going on, and then more people will be understanding, like, okay, I actually need to be on my shit. Companies can be aware, like, hey, we understand that this is going on. We're going to do more training. We're going to hire more people for this, or whatever the case may be. And then it can honestly become a thing where it can be prevented. On top of that, I I I'm not a journalist, but I love language arts and writing. I actually considered becoming a journalist before um everything else. Uh so like I really like when people investigate shit and they go deep down to the weeds and stuff and we get the true answer, because I think journalistic integrity is vital for society. I think
Hmm.
journalists are, you know, very underrated as far as society and how they push society forward and everything of that nature. So for me, for journalists to say I'm not going to report on this because I feel bad for Insomniac,
Hmm.
it's your duty, on unfortunately. Like when you see people in the war, right, the press in war, and you know people are dying next to them and everything like that, they have to be on the ground to give that news so that we can understand the full context of shit. Unfortunately, you know, maybe be a left leaner or right leaner, we don't get that sometime. But
Hmm.
I'm not going to jump sides or whatever as far as like the Israel Hamas war, but that's like one example of like we need context of what's going on down the ground, or the Iraq war that was happening and everything of that nature. We need context on what's going on so that we can be informed. And I think not to say the situation is totally different and way that situation is way more important, but I'm just saying in context of video gaming, this is super important and people need to report on this. So just because you feel bad for the company, I don't think you should necessarily say I feel bad for it. I think you should say like this is needed to, this is a way for the public to know what's going on. And it's just a weird thing for me. I got really upset when I read that I forgot, I think his name's Tamir or something of that nature.
Tamora
um
saying, yeah.
Tamor, yeah, Tamor, and even Cosmo not a fucking journalist, but he's just like a fucking, you know, YouTuber or whatever. I don't know. I don't like those takes where they're just like, "You guys shouldn't be liking this," and it's like we're not
Oh,
liking this. We're just,
Cosmo, dude. Like, I like Cosmonaut
I
Marcus,
like him a
but
lot,
like,
but his
bro,
takes are,
this was an L take.
yeah. This is an
I'm
L
sorry, this
take.
was an L take for him, man. Like, I did
Yeah,
not agree at all with what he was saying. He
yeah.
was coming out really hard, saying you're like you're a bad person if you're like looking for this shit. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me because the example I had in my head, right, is say if you're walking down the street or you're on one side of the river, right, and you're walking on the side of the river, and on the across the river, you see someone unfortunately get robbed or like stabbed or murdered or something like that, right, and you witness it. You couldn't do anything about it, but are you just as bad as a person? Like that's essentially what he was saying. You're just as bad as the person that committed the crime. And it's like,
Right.
no, I'm not. I'm
It's
not
that
that
kind.
bad.
This is like it's a total fucking like bad faith argument. You know, like
Yeah,
it's this
yeah,
kind of like mental manipulation tactics that a lot of identity politics people tend to use, and I'm not.
yeah,
I can't stand that shit, dude. Like, you're
yeah,
not a bad person for going to look at leaks of Wolverine. It's
yeah.
not it's really not that big of a fucking deal. It's a fucking video game, you know?
Yeah,
Like, let's
exactly.
calm the fuck down. You
Yeah.
know?
And I understand these people worked really hard on this, but we need to blame the people. First of all, I mean, yes, blame the people that actually did the hacking. Second of all, let's be reasonable here. The companies are cheaping out. We work in IT.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
literally know companies cheap out on IT all the time. Execs getting bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we need new equipment. We need more security. We're telling them
Right.
like, "Hey guys, we
Yeah.
these are exploits that can happen." So
Yeah.
when I see that, all I can feel is for the IT team. I'm just like, man, like they probably already told them about this exploit, and
Yeah.
it just
And
happened. You know?
nobody's talking about this aspect. Like, we should be criticizing Insomniac and Sony for their approach to
Yes.
their networking and their defense, the security of their network, because that's, I mean, that's their fault. Like, we can feel bad for the devs all we want, but like, bro, like, it's a company's fault when this happens, you know? Because like I said, there's not a 100% defense.
Oh
If
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
group that's like, you know, skilled enough and dedicated enough and large enough to attack you, they're gonna get what they want, right? But there's that's like a sliding scale though. Like, the less you commit to security, the easier it is for them to get in. They'll be able to get
Exactly.
in 5 fucking minutes if you're not secure, you know. Versus if you are more secure, maybe it will take them potentially weeks instead. You know, it's like it's different to the point that they might give up. You know, the more
Yeah, or you
barriers you
can
put in place, the harder you're making it for them to get in, which means they might not expend as much effort, you know, to do so.
Yeah, or you can either you can catch them in the act, or you
Right.
can do a cat and mouse game. I mean, because like yeah, casinos got fucking hacked, and we all know casinos have like top notch security, and they
Right.
got fucking hacked like a couple months ago.
Yep.
So excuse me. So it's not like Justin said, it's not 100% foolproof, but I just know how Sony is. But getting back to
Yeah.
like the journalist thing, I really think um and it's just weird too. It's just weird because uh Sony was reported on 10 years ago or 10 or 15 years ago about this situation. Uh and then recently Capcom got hacked, and I believe IGN had a full ass article about, man, well, this is their lineup for the 2024, 2025, 2026.
Hmm.
And Rockstar got hacked, and Naughty Dog got hacked, and everything like
Everybody,
that.
yeah,
And
dude. Naughty Dog
everybody,
had fake leaks leaked out there that were picked up, you know, and it's like that literally injured The Last of Us Part Two, you know,
yeah,
as a product, and nobody had a problem with that. So
yeah, and yeah, nobody had a problem with that. But all of a sudden now we want to draw the line as far as our journalistic integrity at fucking Insomniac because you like them.
yeah,
It doesn't make any sense. And it like I just and this is where gaming journalism for as far as for me takes a nosedive. It was already free falling, but now it's just in hell. Like you got like there's just no professionalism inside of it, right?
right,
And
yeah.
even like my favorite gaming journalist, like Jason Schreier, he shows his bias all the time. But for me, even though he shows his bias on Twitter, to be
It
honest with you,
doesn't
I'm gonna
bleed
be
into
honest.
his work
I was
generally.
just about to say that it
Yeah,
never bleeds into
yeah,
his work. That man is 100% professional when it comes to his work. I don't think he should be tweeting some of the stuff he tweets, but I mean, it's his own account. But when he does his articles, they're 100% like or 95% bias free. Like it's insane,
hmm,
like
yeah,
the way he writes, but compared to the way he tweets. And then for
yeah.
someone to say we shouldn't be reporting on this, I don't know. It's just that just rubbed me the wrong
Well,
way.
because he's an interesting person to bring up, because he's actually argued with people before who are in other, you know, gaming journalism outlets who have had these kind of opinions before, and he's basically said to them like, what do you? No, you guys are wrong. Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You know, like
Yeah.
this is because like journalism doesn't work if you're not covering everything in an equal measure. You know,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can't pick and choose what you decide to report on. You are influencing the picture that is being painted by what your site reports, you know. So if you decide not to report on this, but you're reporting on the GTA leaks, suddenly like what are we talking about here? Like, oh, I like Insomniac, so I'm not going to report on this giant leak that happened of theirs. Like that's an
Exactly,
insane
exactly.
level of bias that you can't be taken seriously after that. Because dude, like I think about like sports reporting when I always compare the games industry. Sports reporting is so fucking cutthroat in comparison, is fucking hilarious. These dudes will ruin people's careers to get a story out there, you know? And it's like, I'm not saying we have to go that far in games necessarily, but that's kind of what journalism is though. If you get a hold of information that is extremely like, I don't know, secret or something like that, and it blows something open, like that, you're supposed to report on it. Like that's the job of the media, you know. The media does not exist to influence public opinion. That's not their purpose, and I think that's what a lot of games journalists think they're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing. That they're a mouthpiece that influences the way the masses think, and that's totally fucking wrong. Like that shouldn't be the way that it operates. I'm not. And again, you don't necessarily report on everything. There are ethics within that you should abide by, but this isn't one of them to me. Like
Yeah.
if you're not going to report on this leak, then you should never be reporting on leaks, period. It's either all or nothing, with this kind of thing.
And it's like, for me, how do I even trust you as a site, as a reporter, even as a personality, or whatever the case may be? If you're a personality and a reporter, like for instance, Samore, he's actually a creative director and journalist, and he said
Right.
that, and I was just like, dude, like I mean, I have a lot of respect for the dudes, but I lost a lot of respect when you said that. I'm like, so how am I supposed to take anything you say seriously now? Because, like, what if you just, did you not like these people? That's why you reported on them,
Right.
or did you like
Right.
them because So it's really, really weird when you get inside that sort of territory. I just believe, like, journalism and like, law enforcement and stuff like that. In the medical field, they have no room to be biased, even though we all know there are biases there. Those are like the three fields that just have no room for bias, because you're dealing
Right,
with
dude. Like,
a
yeah,
lot of different
think
people.
about war, right? Like medics in war, they will treat enemy soldiers just as well as they will treat their own,
Exactly.
And that takes, dude, I can't imagine these fucking motherfuckers on Twitter being in that situation. They couldn't do that. They would let enemy soldiers die, and that's fucking wrong, dude. That's not the way this is supposed, like, that's not an ethical thing.
Yeah.
And that would be their viewpoint. And you know what this reminds me of in sports? I was thinking about this is like, I have a specific example that I'm thinking of, is a few years ago when Odell Beckham was still on the Browns, and it was the season where things were falling apart between him and the organization. And he was gonna get traded to the Rams, or it was around the time when he got traded to the Rams. I remember when her name is Didi Kinkabwala. She's a reporter for the NFL, and I think she's on the AFC North beat, I think, for the NFL, or at least she was at the time. And I remember, because there was internal strife, in the locker room about Odell and his discontent with the team and his unhappiness with his production and all that. And she painted him like such a villain in her reporting, and she made Baker Mayfield sound like a fucking war hero. Like, I remember the clown show comments that she was making about, like, Baker Mayfield. Oh, Baker's such a fucking great leader. He's so good. Everybody in the locker room loves him and totally supports him, blah, blah, blah. And I remember this because it was like, I'm a fan of Odell Beckham, and I always felt like the media was trying to make him some villain that he wasn't. And obviously he's not as good of a player now, so nobody really cares. But back then he was still a high profile player. And I remember that reporting because the irony of it was Odell was off the team, that he got traded to the Rams, and then fucking Baker was off the team within like a month or two, like, yeah, this fucking hero, this hero of the Browns was literally let go by the fucking team the same offseason. It was like, what the fuck are we talking about? It was such an obvious, like, insane bias where she's trying to paint this fucking narrative for whatever goddamn reason. I don't know. She has some vendetta against Odell Beckham, maybe. But yeah, she was trying to paint this fucking narrative that he's some villain tearing the locker room apart, when that wasn't true at all. When both the guys were off the team, Baker was actually the one where people were like, yeah, fuck that guy, like, Odell's my dog, and it was like, it was fucking hilarious to watch. And it's fucking it was embarrassing shit, So
Yeah.
that's the kind of reporting you don't want from people, where there's an obvious layer of bias, where they're trying to paint some narrative that they want to get out there for whatever reason. And that's what's happened. That's the same conversation we're having right now with this, it's like, so to me, yeah, you should be reporting on this equally with the other leaks that have happened this year,
Yeah.
And I mean, were journalists in Tamora's mentions going at him like, hey man, like, you reported on the GTA 6 leaks, what's the deal,
Tom Warren was talking about it and everything like that, and people were just in his mentions going crazy, and I'm like, he's right though. I don't know, and I don't know, as far as the leaks and everything like that. Another part of the aspects of the leaks that I don't like, Um, I don't know how we can combat it, but like grifting, I don't like, and this is on Twitter. It's on YouTube. Some certain people on YouTube do this and everything of that nature. If you don't know what a grifter is, it's pretty much somebody who kind of like um pretty much drums up stuff because they not because they care about the subject, but because they know it will bring in more clicks in. They'll fake like they care, or they'll fake like they don't care about it, or whatever the case may be. So, for instance, like who if someone's a left wing grifter, they be like, "Oh, I am for Black Lives Matter," blah 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 blah, but they actually don't care about it in the grand scheme of things. They just use the same talking points and everything of that nature, and you can tell when somebody's an obvious grifter. But for video games, um, I don't like this grift that people are using, and people are falling for the bait of like, oh my god, this game looks fucking terrible, and they're blah 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 blah, and everyone and their mom knows this is a pre-alpha build. Of course, it's going to look fucking terrible. Like nothing looks correct right now, and even like and no bullshit, Justin. My parents know what the pre-alpha build of a game is. Like they know like this
You've
game
educated.
is not done yet. And I'm tired of seeing those takes on Twitter. And every time something leaks like this,
Mhm.
that take comes out where someone's like, "Oh my god, this looks fucking terrible," and blah 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 blah. And this is what you're putting your money towards, Sony. And it's like some fucking Xbox, trying to drum up something or
Probably is
whatever
a
the case
bot,
may be.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. And they always have the blue fucking check mark or something like that, and they're just like just trying to drum up stuff, and it's it's very annoying, and I don't even engage in it, but I'm tired of other people engaging in it to where it's like bringing down the overall conversation of video games to where first of all, I think some devs need thick skin and they need to learn. Bro, not everybody's like shitting on your game.
Mhm,
That's a troll.
mhm,
You need to learn what the obvious troll is, and then
mhm.
on the other half of that, I think I need people need to stop trolling and taking the bait for it. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just that was one aspect. Another
No, I
aspect that
mean, I
was
agree
really
with you.
rubbing me
I
the wrong
dude,
bad.
sifting through this shit at this point is so fucking difficult. Like, um, it's because it's so prevalent. There's just so much of this bait, anti-bait, like fucking nonsense. The discourse online is so stupid now. Like, it has become just unbearably dumb. I don't like. There's nothing valuable happening on Twitter. Not a thing. Like,
And
I
you
fucking
know what?
hate. I fucking
It's
hate
not
that
just
site.
contained to Twitter. It's
No, it's
it
Reddit.
started.
It's fucking yeah, wherever the
Yeah,
fuck. Yeah, dude. No,
yeah,
it
it's
totally.
everywhere. But Twitter is definitely like the cesspool of it, and it just spread throughout the internet. But keep going.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the YouTube comments, it's all of it, dude. And I'm I don't even go on that often anymore. Like I can't do it, man. Like I can't do it. Like if we can't have a conversation like this, between two people, then what I mean, what are we doing? Why are we even talking then? If you're just gonna spout rhetoric or hateful comments or just take personal shots at people the second they disagree with you, it's like, man, like for real, like grow a thick skin. And I'm a fairly thin-skinned person in general. Like I don't handle that kind of like attacking stuff very well, but at the same time, like that's but it's like, dude, like you got to be able to handle somebody disagreeing with you though in a conversation. Like that is going to happen so much in your life. And if you can't do that, no one is ever going to want to talk to you,
Yeah.
like companies aren't going to want to hire you, people aren't going to want to work with you. You're not going to have any fucking friends. Like it's just like a reality of the world, man. Like you have got to have some level of tolerance.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like for the game industry in general, like everyone is amazingly thin skinned. Like, I don't know, my friend Tori, he's like really thick skinned, in my opinion, the way he talks and stuff like that. And I'm just like, dude, like you're like so different from other devs is actually insane. And but like yeah, like people get really sensitive about you know, if someone likes your game or someone doesn't like your game and everything of that nature, and all this other stuff like that. And I don't know, I just thought like with the leaks and everything like that, people being disingenuous. I that's one thing I just hate. I hate like like Commander Shepard said, I'm tired of disingenuous insertions. Like I he smacks the reporter.
Yeah.
But I just don't like this. I just like people being disingenuous, man. Like I think the internet right now is very disingenuous towards Insomniac or towards leaks because the game may not look as good or whatever the case may be, or it may not be up to their standards or whatever the case may be. And it's like, bro, it's an early build. They may change the combat completely. Like this may be a first alpha build where we
Mm.
thought this was going to be it. I mean, we've seen this before, where like Final Fantasy VII remake is a example of that. They had full gameplay. I believe they had like 25% of that game done before they went in and just completely revamped that game. And we
Might have
saw
been
the
more.
gameplay for it. Yeah. And we saw
And
the
it was a
gameplay
totally
for that.
different game when it came out the other side.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't like. I guess my question is, when did the discourse or the audience for gaming becomes like? Because I don't think we were this stupid when we were. I don't want to say young, but
Mm.
in gaming in general, like yeah, we had our console wars and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think we were this dumb though. Like, were we?
I
Like,
just think I think people are too terminally online.
yeah.
They don't know how to have a discourse outside of that context, and it's
But like, do they?
damaging people's ability to have conversations.
But like, not even the conversations. Like, but I genuinely want to know: do people understand certain aspects of gaming? I feel like back in the day, like 10 years ago, we understood what a pre-alpha build was. We understood what a demo was. We understood what a beta was. I feel
Mm.
like a lot of people really don't understand those concepts. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like that, or is it
Oh,
just
definitely. Oh, definitely. I mean, the beta was a thing I think 20 years ago that was a lot more prevalent. And then there was probably like a 15-year period where betas like almost didn't exist, for a
yeah,
long time. Outside of maybe like Blizzard and a few other companies on PC, but and then they've kind of come back, and they've come back in a different form where companies use the word beta as like a marketing term almost,
yeah, yeah,
where they're not really betas, like a beta before the game, like 2 weeks before the game comes out. It's not a beta. That's a fucking demo, you know.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
And they use the term beta though because I don't know, they seem to think it's like some sexy marketing term. And maybe they're taking that from 20 years ago, because when you got beta access to a game, that was a big deal, dude.
yep,
I
yep.
remember when I got beta access to Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne expansion, and dude, you have no idea how fucking stoked I was. Like, I was over the fucking moon. I loved Warcraft 3. It's like, again, it's one of my favorite games, but when I was playing that game, like, I was a Warcraft 3 fucking fanatic back then. And I'm sitting there playing the fucking beta for Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne like 6 months before it comes out, and it was hilarious. It's one of my favorite gaming experiences, dude. I would log into that game and just play the game, and dude, there was crazy shit happening. It was broken all the time. There were these every patch was some adventure in the beta. It was so fucking funny. There was one in particular that was stupidly hilarious where there's this item in the game that increases stats for your characters,
Yeah.
for your hero units. And there was a bug in the game that you could exploit where you could make a tome endlessly give you stats, basically, if you just kept clicking on it. So that's what people would do. They would go find like a tome of HP, and they would end up with like 50,000 HP on their fucking hero, and they're unkillable, in a normal game. And that was what the game had devolved into. And it was so funny to watch because I would just watch, like, I would just observe, melee matches and stuff, and people would do this shit. And it was so funny to watch, it'd just be like, because the character's just running around. They got an entire army trying to kill them, and they can't even put a dent in his HP because he's got 50k HP when he's supposed to have 500. It's like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just, betas were kind of like that back in the day, where it was a true beta where the game was not complete, like wasn't even close to being
Yep.
complete.
Yeah.
Whereas
and I
now,
remember-
yeah, it's like they're way more polished now. They don't give people beta access like that generally.
yeah, and I remember I got like beta access to like maybe it was Halo 3 or Reach or something like that, but the game legitimately wasn't coming out for a whole another year. It was like legitimately a network test or something like that. I got beta access to a lot of different games that were actual betas and everything of that nature. But yeah, like I don't know. I think people just need to understand. I think the gaming community exploded too fast. Um, the audience exploded too fast, especially over 2020. So we have a lot of newer gamers, and they don't understand those aspects of gaming. So when they see these leaks or when they see other aspects and everything of that nature, they just think, okay, this is what it is now. Because they all they play is Warzone or all they play is one particular game. And they don't really know the aspects of gaming, and I think that's where all this miscommunication comes from now. All this all these uneducated takes and stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying I'm the holy grail of fucking gaming, but I do know a lot about it because I'm in it. And um I don't know, it's almost like it's you know what it's like? It's like when I used to be into firearms when I was younger, when I was back in Detroit, but then I really got into it when I was in Texas when I got here. And once I understood what the world of firearms were, it completely changed how I view it, how I approach them, and how I'm educated on it. And I look at myself like 10 years ago and I'm like, wow, you had no idea,
Mhm.
what actually goes on in this industry. And I feel like that's what's happening with a lot of gamers. They're fresh into it, 5 years into it, 3 years into it. Um, and they have no idea what's going on. Um, and I feel like information is a lot more accessible than it was for me and you 15 years ago. And we still understood the simple concepts of just development and stuff like that.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, and yeah, we made a lot of mistakes, as far as like, I think one of my greatest mistakes was like really bashing Mass Effect 3. I still consider that one of my
Mm.
greatest like mistakes.
Yeah, I
Um,
was in the same boat.
yeah. And um if I had to known what was going on, eh, and I should have known what was going on because of the turnaround time. They made Mass Effect 2, and then a year and a half later, I think Mass Effect 3 came out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
It was
like
like 2 years.
it was 2 years. Okay,
Yeah. Or
and like
no,
that's
no, it was
insane
actually
now.
3. It was actually 3 years.
It was 3 years. Wait,
Mass Effect
I,
2 was 2 years. It was Mass Effect came out in '07, Mass Effect 2 was '09, and
oh
then,
nine.
2012 was Mass Effect 3, cuz remember they had 2 really big delays on Mass Effect 3 actually.
That's true. Yeah.
It was supposed to come out in 2011, and yeah, it got delayed all the way to 2012, but remember that PlayStation didn't get Mass Effect 2 until 2010. So,
Mm,
there was that year in there too where it was an Xbox exclusive, so
yeah. So, I don't know. There's just certain aspects of development that people don't understand, and even that we don't understand. And that's why when I criticize games, I do come from that aspect of like this, the knowledge I've acquired and everything of that nature.
right. Like what's
Everything of that
realistic,
nature.
you know?
Yeah, what's
I
realistic
think
and everything of that nature.
and I think that's the issue a lot of us had, I think, with Mass Effect 3. Like I never wanted them to change the ending. I was mad about it. I didn't like the endings originally, or the ending, the original ending.
Hmm.
Um, but I didn't want them to change it, you know, like I wasn't on board with that whole idea. And eventually they acquiesced and did it, but I didn't feel like, once something's released like that, it should exist the way it was intended, to me.
Yeah.
Even though movies do director's cuts all the time, but games don't really do that as much. And I think the thing though, the thing I learned out of that though is reasonable expectations for a game. 3 years to make Mass Effect 3, with what they had to do with the amount of branching options that came out of Mass Effect 2, with the different permutations of your crew and the decisions you could make in that game. It was completely unreasonable to expect them to be able to make 50 different endings that would all be
Exactly.
satisfying,
Yeah.
especially in that time frame. There's no chance. So that was just not a realistic expectation, and I think a lot of us had that. And obviously they built us up that way. They did build that expectation up, so part of it does lie on BioWare. But at the same time, like, I know games a lot better now. When a
Hmm.
game has like when a trilogy of games has branching decisions that affect the next game, the scope of that is never going to be as large as we all want it to be,
Yeah.
I think Witcher 3 is probably the best example I've seen of that, where decisions from prior games have an impact of some sort in a game. But the way they did it, they compartmentalized those things into the vertical they existed in within the game. They didn't really affect the whole game. They affected like a quest line very significantly, but the rest of the
Yeah,
game it didn't really impact. But it
yeah,
was still satisfying. So that's kind of the way I think you have to do it if you're trying to make a game like that nowadays. So.
yeah. And so yeah, just to like to tie back it into like the Wolverine leaks and everything of that nature. I think if anything, the leaks have proven that a lot of gamers need to re-educate themselves on how development works
Mhm.
and everything of that nature. I really just don't like. Now you can have your takes about you think the combat's bad or anything like that. Like that's not really like graphics are bad or anything like that. If you don't like the direction the combat is going, I think that's a legitimate take. Like I just don't like the direction the combat's going into, or whatever the case may be. And I would be like, you know what, that's a legitimate take. I understand, your frustrations or whatever that case may be. But if you're just saying graphics are bad, oh my god, look how terrible it looks. Oh my, it looks unfinished because it's not finished.
Yeah, like 80% of what you're seeing on screen is a placeholder. Like
Yeah,
it's like not
exactly.
remotely close to finish. Like animations aren't even there. They're not even playing. Like it's literally there to kind of display what the game is supposed to be.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and yeah, for people to just be like, this game looks bad or whatever the case may be because of the graphics or whatever. I don't know. It's just, like I said in the chat, they said the same shit about GTA 6. I couldn't believe people were saying that shit about GTA 6.
I
When the
know,
leaks
dude.
happened, they're like, "Oh my
Right.
god, this game looks fucking terrible.
And then
This
go look at
we've
that
been
trailer
waiting
that just
10
came out.
years."
Like,
Yeah, and they would look at the
yeah.
trailer. Now the trailer looks fucking awesome, but back then, like 6 months ago, whenever those leaks happened, people were like, "Oh, GTA 6 is going to be trash, man." Did you see those leaks? And I'm like, bro, that was like maybe an early, maybe like a 2 year build. Like we don't even know how
Right.
old that build that we saw was. So I don't know. That's my feelings on like the articles and everything I've read for the leaks. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know.
All right. Well, let's digress and get back into the flow of the news here. So there's more stuff from the leaks I want to cover. So another thing that was leaked is a timeline slide of Insomniac's projects through 2032. Their plans. So obviously they've got Spider-Man 2 as kind of the beginning, showing where we are right now. And then the next game they have is in 2025 is actually a game we haven't heard about yet, is Venom, Marvel's Venom. And then 2026 is supposed to be Wolverine. So both of these games looking like they're coming at the end of the calendar year in both of those years. And then there won't be a game in 2027. 2028 will be Spider-Man 3. 20 to 29 will
Okay.
have some kind of Ratchet and Clank game, and then 2030 will have an X-Men game, which is interesting. And then 2031 and 2032, that is weird to say, some new IP of some sort. It's not labeled other than that. So obviously I'm kind of expecting, now that these leaks have happened, that this is all going to change.
Oh yeah,
um
100%. Yeah.
I think this like game leak on the script leaking and the cast and all that leaking for Wolverine, Insomniac and Sony right now have got to be thinking about, like, what do we do? What do we do? Are we change? We got to change stuff up now. Like we can't keep the game as it is, as the plan is. So I actually expect the game to change, meaning that there may be a delay for this game. I mean, 3 years is a long time, but at the same
You
time,
know
if
what,
you're changing something like that, like, that's, if you're gonna do significant changes, they're gonna need more time, probably.
dude? If I was them, I would just fucking do it the way it is. Say fuck everybody. This
Yeah.
is our vision. We're gonna keep to it. Like like
Yeah, I mean, it
don't give
looks
in to the
the
pressure.
concept of it looks cool. Like, he's in Asia somewhere fighting the Hand, which was,
Yeah.
like, that is fucking cool as shit. Like, because the Hand is not a commonly used thing in the Marvel stuff that at least is mainstream.
Mhm.
Daredevil is really the only place it's been that I've experienced, and it was really, I liked them a lot in that Netflix universe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think they should just keep it. In my honest and humble opinion, I think what they did, what Sony did and Insomniac did was not give in to the ransom demand, and I actually commend that. And I think, to be honest, don't even give in to the pressure of the public. Like, even if the public doesn't like it, make the game the way you intended to make it. Just keep going. That way, like in my opinion, like that kind of shows hackers and stuff like that. Like, man, even though we hacked their shit, they're just gonna continue to keep going. Like, it doesn't fucking phase them. Like, I don't think people should just give in to the shit, if that makes
Yeah,
any sense, right?
I agree.
You know, it's almost like bullying, right? Like, or responding to a bully or whatever the case may be. I mean, yeah, you gotta fight back at some point, right? But another point is like, just don't fucking give into it. Like, you know, if you stand up to somebody, like, yeah, they may beat you up or whatever, but then they're gonna be like, holy shit, like he actually stood up to me and I kind of got scared. Like, maybe I need to adjust my tactics, or maybe I just need to go somewhere else, or whatever the case may be. So it's
Mhm.
just like, I feel like it's the same thing. Like, companies, Insomniac needs not giving to the pressure. They need to stop the developers from belly aching online and like, listen, guys, we're pushing forward. We're releasing Venom in 2025. We're releasing fucking Wolverine in 2026. We're keeping on script. We're not going to let this falter. We can change a little bit here and there, but like, we're just going to keep going. Like, fuck everybody else. And I
Mm.
think they need to have that mentality going forward. Like, they just need to keep going.
Yeah. No, I agree. I actually agree with you. I think whatever vision they have, I mean, I'm sure they can make minor alterations, maybe add some content, change a few things here
Yeah.
and there, but I think the overarching kind of vision they have, I don't really think they should go away from it either. So, I kind of agree. I agree with that for sure. What do you think of the other games though? Venom is the next game actually we may get from them, which is fucking insane when you think about their release schedule the last few years.
Their team must be huge, like way bigger than I thought. Um, yeah, I didn't think we were going to get a Venom game.
Well,
That's
this looks
actually,
like it'll be our interstitial game, the way Miles
yeah,
Morales was
yeah.
between 2 and 3. Which is interesting given where 2 leaves off. Um I don't really know what that means
Maybe
necessarily
it'll be
from.
like maybe it'll be a game that happens in between the ending of, in the middle of two and the ending of two, where we're playing as
Mm,
Harry, you know,
that'd be cool.
seeing his side of things.
But that'd be a cool way to
Um,
start the game out actually, you know?
yeah,
And maybe you lead into the future in some way.
yeah, exactly.
Um
I mean, because
that would be
it
a
did
really
take
cool
over a lot of
concept.
the city, so maybe someone else
Yeah.
has a part of the symbiote inside of them or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Right, and with all the symbiote bullshit that was happening at the end of the game, like, yeah, I mean, it feels like, something got out there.
yeah,
I guess is
exactly.
what I'll say. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, 2025 too. That's only 2 years away. So that's actually kind of exciting. That means we'll have a dark year for them next year, which I mean, fuck, they kind of deserve it at this point and how many fucking games
yeah.
they've been putting out, yeah, that's cool. I mean, what I guess the other thing though for me is how do you feel about them though? They just seem like they're the Marvel studio, and then they make a Ratchet and Clank game every once in a while. Like that's kind of what they are now. They're like that kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job with what they had, so I kind of expecting them to to continue doing Marvel stuff. I'm actually relieved that it's only Spider Man and Wolverine. I mean, yeah, they're doing the X Band, but we don't know what aspects of that game they're doing or what the X Men is even going to be. I mean, it's 10 years. I mean, it's 7 years out from now. Um, and and to be honest, I'm actually glad that another studio like Arcane Studios is doing, Blade. So they are I'm actually glad Marvel is like giving other studios a chance to make a Spider-Man game, and or not a Spider-Man game, but Marvel games in general. And I mean, I think Spider-Man is the golden standard now. I mean, we held Spider-Man up to the Batman standard,
Yeah.
and now, everyone's gonna hold up to, like, the Spider-Man standard. So it sucks that that's what they are. I would like to get better IPs from them or more IPs from them. But I mean, this is their moneymaker right now. And I'm glad every studio is not doing it. or yeah, every studio is not doing superhero movie or games. But I mean, it was only a gradual evolution that the movies get tiresome, and now we got games. We got good superhero games coming out. So I mean,
Mm.
it's for the next 7 years, but it is only one studio, so I'm okay with that for right now. Unless we
Yeah.
have unless they reveal like three other fucking Marvel games from like several other studios, then I'm like, all right, now we got a problem. But for right now, it's only from what we know, it's only two studios. And I mean, I guess you can count Rocksteady, but I'm not. I'm talking about on the Marvel side of things, that are making
Mm.
like superhero movie games or superhero games in general. But we are getting a new IP 10 years from now, or 8 to 10 years from now. So, I mean, I think that's okay right now.
Montrell, dude, we're gonna be in our fucking 40s. Like,
I know, bro. That's
can I
crazy.
possibly be excited about that? No, I'm not excited about a game coming out in 2032. Like, no, it just makes me depressed.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm gonna be
Like,
into
dude, I'll be
games
like
around that
40,
time.
what, 41 or something? No, 43. Sorry. Yeah, 43 fucking math. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. These leaks, like this leak, really didn't hurt me too much. I feel bad for them though, because like now they do have to adjust it and then possibly just push all this shit back. So as of this being leaked, I feel like all of this is probably. I don't think they're gonna like. Even though I told them to, like, my feelings are they should keep part of the course. I don't think they are, and I think they're gonna change everything.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, if I were gonna guess, like if we had tried to guess what their next 10 years is gonna look like, I mean, I feel like it probably would have been pretty close to this personally. I mean, I don't want
yeah,
to say we would have hit it dead on, but it was pretty obvious that they're pretty heavily integrated with Marvel stuff right now. And yeah, like I'd be a lot more interested to see this for like Naughty Dog, like what their plan
yeah.
is. So all right, Marshall, we got one more thing out of this. There were some slides that you sent that were fairly interesting. So, Sony, this is an internal presentation of some sort where they're talking about the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and they're saying, so I'll read some of the slides here. So Microsoft's acquisition of ATVI, that's Activision, positions it to leapfrog our current pillars. ATVI provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scale in mobile and PC storefront Battle.net. In addition, Microsoft is building a mobile gaming store to compete with Apple and Google. And then their secondary slide, industry major shifts and threats. Call of Duty threat in 2027. Microsoft acquisition of Activision for $69 billion could disrupt and threaten console gaming and game subscription markets. Console shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. Subscription. Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates greater dominance. And then Sony impact, massive threat to PS Plus. 45 million subs times $12 monthly times 12 months times 20% multiplayer third party. Which is interesting. They're talking about 1.5 billion of annual revenue threat that they may end up getting eaten into by Microsoft. Let's see. Day and date threat. Microsoft putting Activision games on Gamepass day and date of their release. And then Leapfrog. Activision provides incredible strategic value across live service games, mobile, PC storefront. Microsoft can supply multi-game subscription 50%, console games 50%, PC 60%. Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. Sony Impact need to expand. And then there's another part about game subscriptions. The expectation of free, best-in-class games creates unsustainable model. Monthly and incremental subs won't cover the investment. So, Macho, what did you make of this piece?
Um, I didn't know that Game Pass is such a disruptor. I don't know, man. I mean, for me, if I was working for Sony and this got leaked, I will, I will be shitting myself. Like, as far as like the
Yeah.
business executive side of things, right? The more
Mm,
corporate aspect of things. Um, and if I'm looking at Microsoft, baby, we swimming. Like, oh, we got them shaking. Like
Which is
they're
weird. I
scared.
don't know why that is though. Like, what is Sony so afraid of? Like, we're gonna talk about this with the next story of like how far ahead they are, and that the gap is widening. Actually, like it's weird that they feel this way just because of Activision.
Hmm.
Because to me, I don't find Activision's portfolio besides Call of Duty to be that threatening to Sony. And we already know Call of Duty is not going to be exclusive for 10 years, so it's like you don't really need to worry about that for a while. And then what else do they have? The Blizzard stuff. I mean, as much as that would be a powerful exclusive for Microsoft, I don't believe they're going to do that. you know
Yes.
I just don't.
I tweeted this out as well. I'm sorry. I tweeted this out as well. I think they're thinking of Xbox as themselves, right? What would we do if we were Xbox? The
Yeah.
problem is, or the good thing for them is, they're not. Xbox is not y'all. They don't have the creative vision for it, like
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
We haven't. Like they have all these great studios, and nothing creative is coming out of this at all. You know,
Right. And even if they make Call of Duty exclusive, right? Like maybe that'll sell Xboxes, but the install base is so small right this moment right now that they
Mhm.
would literally crater Call of Duty's viability as a game, because of how much it costs to make. So they can't even afford to do it because of their position, that they're
Exactly.
in. So it's like they're kind of between a rock and a hard place, and it's weird that Sony doesn't acknowledge that in here at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's very business here. This is what
Yeah,
I'm looking at right here. This is
yeah,
very super businessy, and I understand why they're super businessy. Uh, but I don't think like you said, they don't understand their strength. Their strength is creative games. Um, and on top of that, you can have, I don't want to say mediocre games to offend anybody, but I'm gonna say you have your creative games, and then you have your everyday games. There you go. Your everyday games like your Maddens, your Call of Duties, your all your NBA 2Ks and everything like that. To where I can play a game like, because Nier Automata came on PlayStation first, so I'm gonna use that example,
mhm,
even though it is multi-plat now.
yeah,
Nier Automata came on PlayStation first, so I can play a game, obscure game like Nier Automata, but then if I do want to fall back on a casual, there you go, a casual game. If I want to fall back on a casual game, I can do that on my PlayStation as well. I don't have to go to a whole nother console. I can just like, oh, my friends want to play Call of Duty with me. Okay, I can put down Nier Automata right now and play Call of Duty with them, or I can play NBA 2K right now. Okay, and then I'm done with 2K. I can go back to playing Persona 5 or something like that. Like Sony has that flexibility, right? Where they have casual games and they have like the super obscure games, which I think Xbox doesn't have. Xbox just has casual games, and then their obscure games they have, no one wants to play them.
right,
Nintendo
yeah,
only has obscurity. They don't have any casual games on their console. They have their own set of casual games that's rooted in its own obscurity. You know what I'm saying? Like the
mm,
Mario Karts, the Super Smash Brothers, and everything of that
yeah.
nature.
But they don't have like the
Um,
third party stuff necessarily.
Exactly. So, um, yeah, like you said, this is super weird, but I think Sony is in the headspace of like, man, if we had this stuff, this is what we would be doing, and it's like,
Yeah, if they had it, they would put fucking Microsoft out of business in the gaming space. Like
oh yeah,
that's the
one hundred
position
percent.
they're in. They're in a position of strength. Like they have so much to work with that they could make Call of Duty exclusive and theoretically keep it alive as a franchise. But yeah,
Like
Xbox
I
just
said,
can't do that, man. Like they
yeah,
just don't have the same install base.
like we said, they don't have. I don't even think the problem is just that I don't think it's the install base. The install base, there are people right now who are like diehard Sony fans who want to get an Xbox. They just like, bro, I just need an excuse. I just need a reason. Give me a reason to buy an Xbox. I'll
Yeah,
buy an Xbox.
yeah,
But there's no games on it though. There's no reasons for me to do it. And that's the biggest flaw of Xbox. Xbox is doing all this business stuff. Oh, games as a service. And blah, 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 blah. And it just comes down to this one simple thing. Bro, I need games. What games do you
But
have
even
on
yeah,
your
and
console?
dude, even Starfield, the game, that was the game, man, and it just seems like it came and went, and it's not. It didn't
Exactly.
have the impact, dude. It didn't have the
They lack
impact.
creative vision. And I don't know what Sony is doing. I don't know what they're cooking over there for these developers. And it's not to say, because I can't sit here and say, well, they just have the more creative talent. It's not that. Because a lot of these studios like Obsidian and everything of that nature, Ninja Theory, they are super creative. They're, in my opinion, they're on par. They can be on par with the Insomniacs, with the Naughty Dogs. They
Mhm.
have the vision for it. I don't know what's going on though. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Like, is it leadership?
Yeah,
What is it over
Obsidian
there?
drives me crazy, man. Like they're so good, dude. They're such a good developer and they're making like Grounded and Penitent and fucking like Avowed just doesn't look it just doesn't
It
look
doesn't.
like it doesn't look that
Yeah,
great, you know? Like I don't what's going on, man? I don't know.
because you remember this weird, like, there was a weird thing with Xbox 360 where they had like powerhouse Western games, like RPGs and everything of that nature. And the problem with like the Western side of RPGs, I just felt they never evolved from that era, right? Like
Right.
Starfield looks like Fallout 4 but in space.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It doesn't look like an evolution. Whereas I can see the difference between like, say like for JRPGs or something like that. Like they still kept the core what they are, which is like the turn by turn. Persona is a good example of this. Persona took what it had and then just made it a lot better. And you can see the progression from like Persona 3 to Persona 5. And then even their newest game, it's not even a Persona game, but the other game that's coming out, the medieval
Ari Refantazio.
Fantasio. Um, and it's like you can see the evolution in that game or whatever the case may be. And then like, Near Automata and all this other stuff like that. All these obscure games had evolution from like, I can see the evolution from like a Bayonetta to like Near Automata
Dude,
from Platinum
Neo.
Games.
You know, like
Neo.
Neo's another
Yeah,
one, you know? It's
exactly.
like that's an
Like
exclusive.
The Souls franchise evolved, right? Or whatever the case may be, and
Yeah.
everything like that. And yeah, a lot of those games are multi-platform, but a lot of people are buying them on PlayStation, and that's what Xbox needs. Xbox needs to. You are a Western company, bro, and you have to force your creators to evolve, and you're gonna need next level stuff. You're gonna need like the new Mass Effects games or whatever, because that was a powerhouse back then. Like that game was revolutionary, in my opinion. You're going to need the Coutures. You're going to need these games that push Western RPGs or even just Western gaming to the next iteration. uh Now Sony's doing that, right? Even on the Western front, you have God of War that came out before and pushed action games to a whole new level as far as that
Yeah.
narrative wise and everything of that nature. You have Naughty Dog who's pushing a narrative of Western gaming and combining that with storytelling and everything of that nature. They pushed it to the next level, and it's like, yeah, you got Hellblade, but
Dude, like where's the game though? Where is that
where's the
game? You know?
game?
Like dude,
Yeah,
they won't fucking show gameplay of that game either. As many times as we've fucking seen it, like we barely seen any combat or anything, you know?
yeah, and it's like you have the studios, you have the technology, you have the money, you have the manpower. Why can't we just get creative? Like I understand, and you know what? I call it the Bungie fallout. I think this is what it is. To be honest with you, this is just my hypothesis on Xbox. I think they're so scared. I think Bungie told the industry, or somebody had to tell the industry, that Microsoft was so strict as far as what they wanted and everything of that nature, that they don't allow creatives to create. And in turn, I mean, we talked about this. I think now they just greenlit anything. They show like, hey guys, we're cool, we're hip. How do you do, my fellow
Yeah,
kids?
we
You
let you
know,
do what you want now, you
yeah,
know? And
like
it's like too far the other direction, yeah.
exactly. And it's like, yeah, too far in the other direction. And now we're getting these. these obscure games that like no one's really asking for. And it's like, yeah, they're there, but like no one's really asking for it. Like you have established IPs that people want to see creative stuff in,
Mhm.
people want to see advancements in, and everything of that nature. You have Bethesda. Like we all thought because Bethesda wasn't under any umbrella that they're just doing whatever they want. They don't they can still use a creative engine. Like they don't need to
Yeah.
advance anything because that's
Yeah.
them. Now they're under Microsoft, forced them to, you know, bro, we're not releasing, even though Starfield wasn't broken, we're not releasing anything broken anymore. We're gonna actually advance. Like this style of games has to advance now. You cannot do another Starfield. Your next game has to be like revolutionary and not
Mhm.
the Todd Howard version of revolutionary. It has to be revolutionary. Like, I don't know. I feel like Avowed, when I saw that, I was like, this is like 5 years too late, bro. What are we doing? Like, a
Yeah.
lot of their games are 5 years too late. They should have released these games 5 years. So, just to tie it back to this, I don't I'm with you on this. I don't see why Sony is so scared, bro. Like this is Xbox is still 5 years behind. Only thing they have is the subscriptions and everything like that, but they don't have anything of substance. Like, yeah, me, you, and DJ are like, man, Game Pass is really good. But like we're like, I think like 10% of the gamers are like, yo, the Game Pass is super good. Like nobody else wants to get Game Pass.
Well, it's like,
And
dude, they haven't given us Game Pass numbers in a while, and I think that's because it's not growing really.
yep.
And well, so that what does that mean? They're stagnant there. They're we're gonna get into this, but their consoles are selling worse than last generation, and it's kind of getting into a situation like Game Pass is kind of the only reason they're even relevant. Like if they didn't have Game Pass, Xbox would be in serious trouble right now, in my opinion. Like I don't even know what they would be offering as a console to anybody. Like why would you even want one? Um,
Exactly. And that's why they're
so
trying
I
to
don't
get
know.
it. I mean, I guess we're going to get to the other story, but that's why they're trying to get into like other fucking consoles and other third
I
party
think
stuff
they
like that.
know. Yeah, so let's get into this. Yeah, I think they know where things are going, or at least they're trying to protect themselves, right? They know they have a good thing with it, Game Pass, right? Because it is a good thing. We've talked about it on the show. We've evangelized it on the show before. It is a great service, but it is interesting. Like I want to kind of get into their longer term strategy here. Like, what do we think is going to happen with Xbox? Like, how are they going to transform in the next 5 to 10 years? And um, Tim Stewart, their CFO, um, was at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit. This was actually a few weeks ago. We missed this, and I heard about it and I wanted to talk about it because this is super fascinating. And he was talking about their strategy. And there's one quote in here that I'm going to read. So, quote: "What you'll hear from us more and more is a bit of change of strategy. And again, not announcing anything broadly here, but our mission is to bring our first party experiences, our subscription services to every screen that can play a game. That means smart TVs, that means mobile devices, that means what we would have thought of as competitors in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We're going to NVIDIA GeForce Now, their gaming subscription service. But when we think about taking our business to these endpoints, again, it's that high margin business to new gamers that really Activision allows us to do in a much, I don't want to say easier way, but much more, I'll say fast way to get there versus trying to build on your own." So, end quote. So this quote was not widely reported on, which is kind of why I missed it, I think. And I don't understand why nobody's talking about this because and like we'll get into this because Phil Spencer did an interview with Windows Central actually. Um
Actually, yeah, talk about that too. I think you
yeah,
should just
let me
read
do
that.
that. So he did an interview the next day with Windows Central, kind of talking about this, because he needed it. He's doing damage control, right? Because these comments did get some traction in certain places, and this obviously what he admitted there is huge. Like that is a huge sea change if that is true, right? If that's truly their plan. So Phil said, quote, "I'll start by saying we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans, but I think you hit on the right point of what it means to own an Xbox. The thing I want to be focused on is how do we continue to innovate for people who've made the commitment to our hardware platform, and how do we continue to make sure that they feel great about their investment in what we've built." So I'm going to end the quote there. There's actually a lot more he says in the Windows
Yeah.
Central interview. But
I
that's the
recommend
most
you guys
relevant
actually
point.
go out and look for it. Because it's a
Yeah,
lot that.
I recommend reading it. It's very long. He has some very long quotes in there where he talks about a lot of stuff, but this is the most relevant quote to what we're talking about here. So I think he's just straight up flying, specifically because we know from the Activision Blizzard, the court stuff, the court proceedings for that with the leaked documents and stuff, the internal communication that he already talked about getting Game Pass on PlayStation, and that he believes PlayStation is the one who wouldn't want it, not them. So it's clearly in his mind. It's been in their mind. They're talking about that internally. I think that is a longer term goal of theirs. And they just need to figure out how to convince PlayStation to do it. I think Nintendo will be a lot easier to convince, personally. But yeah, so that's kind of my thing here is the tacit omission by their CFO. I mean, dude, this is their CFO of Microsoft, the entire company. This isn't the CFO of Xbox. This is the CFO of fucking Microsoft, or actually, sorry, it is the CFO of Xbox. My bad.
Okay.
But still, like, it's still the CFO. This is above Phil Spencer, So this is a very interesting dichotomy here. Like, they're definitely communicating with each other. There's no way they're not. These guys are absolutely talking to each other behind the scenes. So I don't think this is coming out of nowhere. I don't think this guy's making this up. He just said something he shouldn't have said publicly. Basically, that's my viewpoint on this, and I think this is their plan. And I don't know, like, I really want to get into what this would mean for Xbox if they're really trying to get on every device with Game Pass, which I do think that is the right strategy for them. Because let's just give some more context. I'm throwing a lot of information on you guys. Like, I just want to set the stage for this whole discussion, though. So I did a lot of research after this to kind of understand like where things are right now. And Xbox Series X right now in December is actually selling worse than the Xbox One at the same time frame of sales. So it's like 500,000 units behind, but it is behind. It's selling worse. And PlayStation 5 is actually outselling PS4 in the same time frame, and that is super impressive given the fact that there was a humongous shipping crisis and supply shortage going on for basically 2 years due to COVID. So the fact that the PlayStation 5 has caught up now and is now has passed the PS4 in terms of sales within the same time frame, I think that this may continue for PlayStation, and somehow and the other one I want to give one more data point is within the last 12 months has sold the PlayStation 5 has outsold the Xbox Series 3-1, 22.5 million units to Xbox's 7.6 million units. That is an insane statistic that is real. So Xbox is completely cratering right now, whereas PlayStation is fucking meteoric, in the other direction. They have sold almost half of their PlayStation 5s that are out in the wild in the last year. That's crazy to say that. So PlayStation is fucking doing gangbusters right now, and Xbox is in the complete opposite spectrum. So given all that information, these comments make a ton of sense for them, that they are seeing these numbers. They know what's going on. They're not fucking stupid. They see this, and I think they realize that their future in hardware is in serious question. I think, like, I don't know if there will be a next generation Xbox right now. Like, I feel like that is realistically possible that there won't be one. I don't know. How do you feel, Montrell?
Unfortunately, I agree with you. I feel like, parts of our last conversation that we just had, I feel like Xbox really needs to focus on one thing. And I understand they have an exit strategy. And I think it's a very good exit strategy. It's the same strategy that Sega used. They just went third party. And I think that's a really good thing to do. But I think also Phil Spencer's kind of right as well. I understand he's trying to save face, but I don't think that's all it is. I think it's a slap in the face to everyone who did dedicate themselves to Xbox, who did buy an Xbox console and everything of that nature. I mean, I understand business is business, and I mean, we saw what happened with the Dreamcast. That's like the only console I can really think of that in recently that has just completely died out, right? Um, I think, in my opinion, it will be a huge hole in the space if Xbox died out and went third party.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Sony would have basically a monopoly, you know,
yeah, yeah.
which is not what
I
we
think it would
want.
be,
I don't really want that.
yeah, and I don't want that. I think while yes, you should have a good exit strategy, I also believe there needs to be a change in the way you approach video games, the way you
Yeah.
approach creative video games, the way you approach your studios as far as making games. You need to go to your studios and say, hey, we have this IP under our belts, we have this IP under our belts, we have this IP under our belts, we have this IP under our belts. What can you bring to the table with that? And I think you need to run with it. And if it's a new IP, actually, you know what? I know goes against like what I've been preaching for the last, several years, both me and you, or as far as new IPs and stuff like that. I don't think we can afford, or Xbox can afford, to do the new IP, right?
Mm,
They're seeking all this money into Hellblade. I don't even think Hellblade's that strong an IP. I'm just
right.
gonna say it. You know?
No, I
So
agree
it's
with
like,
you. It's one. It was one, dude. It's one game that was extremely short and like, from what I understand, it's like it's a really cool concept and the narrative is very interesting. But like as a game, it's like an 8. Like that's
yeah,
my understanding of it.
yeah. So it's like, uh,
Like Hellblade 2 has to be a significant leap to justify this dev cycle. Personally,
yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It's just really weird. That I'm trying to get my thoughts
well,
together.
so let
It's
me
just,
say
it's
one.
just
Let me say
yeah.
one
You,
thing.
you go
Yeah,
ahead.
you get your thoughts together because like I think the thing I'm keying on here that I want to key on is I think that Microsoft and Xbox need to be very very careful about how they talk about this console publicly going forward because this is a huge mistake by Tim, in my opinion. If this is their plan, you can't say that at this point. And if you're still trying to hedge, which I still think they are trying to hedge, I don't think they necessarily want to get out, but they're planning for that future potentially. But when you say this publicly, you're telling your current fans, and you're also telling the people that don't have an Xbox, well, don't buy one then, because we ain't gonna,
Exactly.
we're not gonna be here, and that is gonna crater their sales more than anything when the company's basically tacitly telling you, yeah, this thing's probably not gonna be around in 5 years. It's like, well, then why would I invest in it? It's like when I'll jump on Game Pass when it comes to my device, if that's your plan. And it's like, so that they need to be very careful with their messaging because I think that's why Phil went out and did this interview so fast because he knows how damaging that kind of comment can be to their to Xbox, as a
Yeah.
piece of hardware.
Yeah. No. And I think what I was trying to say is I agree with you pretty much just said what I was going to say. Um, I just really think Phil Spencer. I think this leak as well. They need to take advantage of this leak. And the problem is they're going to look at the leak as a wrong way. Oh man, Game Pass is actually scaring the fuck out of Sony, and that's not what they need to take out of this. What they
Yeah.
need to take out of this is, how can we get ahead of this? What can we do? We know what their future games are, at least from one company, what those games are. What
Yeah.
can we do to combat this? Can we get deals with DC? Can we get deals with like Dark Horse
Yeah.
Comics?
They
Can
could
we
be
get
doing that.
deals with
Yeah.
anime? Can we figure out some way? Like, I don't know. It's stupid, right? But what if Obsidian made some kind of fucking Dragon Ball Z RPG? Like, they need to do stupid shit like this. Like, they need to
Yeah.
be really creative
Oh, I
and
like the
get in
DC idea. I like that a lot.
yeah, yeah. Like, they need to get really creative Not even just DC. What about fucking WB as a whole, as an entity? Okay, WB, we can work out something. Like, I know you probably got Montreal doing your games or whatever the case may be, but what about other stuff? Can Obsidian do a Lord of the Rings game, or can they do like
Yeah.
a Starship Troopers game or something like that? Or I don't even think that's WB. But like, yeah, you need to be looking at other IPs to just get in front of this. And you need to be talking to your studios and saying, like, listen, guys, I understand that you want to make these cool, unique games, but they're just not selling.
Well, yeah.
I need you to make another Banjo Kazooie. I need you to make
Yeah.
a better another Heavenly Sword, a better Heavenly Sword, or
Hey,
something
he
akin to it.
mentions Banjo in the interview. He says,
Exactly.
"Banjo fans, we hear you." You know and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
I
bro, but I'm not getting anything from you. You know?
Exactly. I need you to do this, and I need you to. And if you can make a Halo game, and it doesn't have to be a Halo game. It doesn't need to be a first person Halo game. What if we get a third person Halo game that's
Yeah.
a very unique action game from like Ninja Theory or some shit like that, right? We're playing as like some kind of super elite assassin or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Just throw shit to the wall. Or what you can do, since you have fucking Blizzard under your belt now, take one of their IPs and say, "Hey, Blizzard, we're getting StarCraft Ghost, and we're gonna give it to fucking one of their studios that can make really good
Dude,
person action games or something
oh
like
my
that." You
god.
know what I'm saying?
Make a StarCraft Mass Effect game, or like a fucking Warcraft like Obsidian style game or something like that. Like, dude, just do
It,
it. You have it now. You have these IPs at your disposal. Like, fucking make those games. Like, and I think your idea with DC is like spot on. Like they should be taking that mantle and competing with Insomniac directly, pound for pound. They got to get more into this realm. I'm not saying that they should, they should try to beat Sony at their own game necessarily, but they should be competing with their major games a little bit more directly.
yes, dude, they
I feel
have the
like
talent. The
absolutely
problem is
they have the
like,
studios to do it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, they have the talent. They have the studios. The problem is they need to. Is the gameplay exciting or whatever, right? I looked at Avowed and I was just like, this looks like a standard, first person RPG, almost akin to Skyrim type deal. Ooh, I can kick somebody and do magic. Like,
Yeah.
improve the gameplay. Like, and that's the problem with Western studios. They just so content with what they have. Like, why is Starfield not moving? In my opinion, Starfield should have been moving like at this point, Mass Effect. There's no reason why they don't have that type of movement in the game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not there. They need to. And I understand Starfield was made before they acquired, Bethesda. So
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna harp
But
on
yeah,
that.
but
But
that's a
but
Bethesda
they're
unique problem though. But like Microsoft decided to buy Bethesda though.
yeah,
Even knowing
and
all this.
I feel like they need for their next games for Elder Scrolls. I shouldn't be seeing regular Elder Scrolls gameplay. You know what I'm saying? Like I shouldn't be
Yeah.
seeing Skyrim but improved graphics or whatever the case may be. I should see very unique gameplay, very good action combat, or because to be honest with you, a lot of games have evolved as far as like that kind of gameplay.
Mm.
So why hasn't Skyrim evolved? Like where is all this money going towards? Like I don't know. And that's what they need to be asking themselves. They need to have a serious conversation with their studios and saying, like, guys, listen, we acquired you guys. Where is this money going? Why was Halo Infinite released in the way it was released? Why are we not? And it's like, yeah, like put their feet to the fire now. Like, if you don't get this game done, we're gonna hand Halo off to another studio, and 343, you're done. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I can't
like
believe 343 is still around. Like,
exactly. Like, and I understand that will look bad because like that's your first party studio, like that's your Microsoft studio or whatever the case
yeah.
may be. But
Yeah.
it's like at the same time, you need to do this type of stuff, man. I mean, and they fill in the gaps, man. Fill in the gaps. Like make another RTS. I mean, they try to make Halo Wars 2, but like I just don't feel like they're trying to push it hard enough, man. Like Halo
Mhm.
Wars 2 is actually a really good RTS. I love that game. It's on PC and Xbox. But like I thought it was a very unique game, but it's like I think Halo is like is dried up now. Like make another franchise in RTS. Hell, StarCraft is right there. You have StarCraft now. Like I don't know, just try to make unique approaches to different games. Make an action game. You don't have to do the same shit. You can do the same franchise, but do different things.
Mm.
And to me, these are the conversations they need to be having inside, like even the higher level stuff. Okay, where are the trends right now? You know, what can we be doing and everything like that? If you need to bring in like foreign help, do that. Like get foreign entities in there to show you like this is how we improve the gameplay on our side or something of that nature. Or this is how we did this is how we did that. You guys have the money, you have the technology. There should be no rhyme or reason that you are as far behind as they are. And I mean, this also proves that money isn't everything because Microsoft has a shit ton of money, yet they can't beat Nintendo. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they can't even beat
Yeah.
Sony at its worst. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man.
True.
It's
They couldn't beat them at their worst, which was the
they
PS3
could
generation.
exactly. And Sony ended up winning that generation. And that was actually their worst. And it's like, you couldn't even beat them. You had a leg up on it, and then you butchered it because I just think Microsoft, Phil Spencer is probably the only one of the only minds in there. Elite
Mm.
mind, not elite minds, but executive minds in there that think video games.
Mhm.
The problem is everybody else in Microsoft is suit or their suits.
Yeah.
And and Xbox needs to become more gaming focused and but not in the sense of we just let studios do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And when I see articles like this, when you have two contradicting people contradicting each other, we want to bring Xbox Game Pass to everything. Actually, we don't want to bring Game Pass to everything. That shows a lack of leadership. If I was the developer or the head of a developer studio, I would be shitting myself right now because I'm like,
Mm.
what the fuck is going on out there? Like this is actually bad
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah. No, I mean it definitely is, and I do want to correct myself earlier. I said that Tim Stewart is over, Phil Spencer in the market. That's not true. Phil Spencer is the CEO of Xbox, so he's over everybody. But that's a C-suite executive. That's somebody that he probably meets with multiple times per week. So the fact that they have this mangled communication is Phil, like I hope Phil had a stern conversation with Tim and was like, look dude, you can't go flip off at the mouth like this, like this is critical to our business that the communication is coherent and like we aren't giving up future plans that we're not ready to talk about yet, especially when it comes to getting Game Pass proliferated out there. It's just not the way we should be operating. So I don't know. I hope Phil had that conversation because yeah, this kind of thing, like this mismanagement of the communication, can do a lot of damage to their brand and to their hardware specifically, and could accelerate the path towards them not being in the hardware business. Um, so I don't know. I mean, right now I'm feeling pretty 50-50 on, in the next 5 years, will Xbox still be around? Probably, but it depends. Like, how bad does it get, dude? I mean, you're getting beat 3-1 in a 12-month period in terms of console sales. What happens in the next 12? Like, does Sony accelerate? They sell 25 million next year, and what, you sell, another 7? It's like that would be devastatingly bad if that
I
happens.
I really think they need to do surveys. I really think they need to understand that people want to buy Xboxes. I really think they need to understand that people need an excuse to buy an Xbox. People want to buy Xboxes.
Right. Ask them what would make you buy an Xbox. Like
Yeah,
what
and I'm pretty
what
sure people are going to say like more games and or better games or whatever the case may be. It's not enough. I still think in my mind Xbox is still stuck in the 360 era as far as the way they think. They had, I don't want to say the superior system. They won on a technical fluke. or they were winning on a technical fluke. PS3 ran horribly as far as it was a nightmare to develop one. And that's why they won. They were winning that, but as soon as developers learned how to do it, they caught up, and I don't think they understand that,
Yeah.
Justin. I really don't think they get that, man.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And I think the other thing they need to start doing is coming up with ideas that they want to pursue and assigning it to studios, and pitching it, like almost pitching in reverse, where you pitch a game to your studios, not the studio pitching games to you. You've
Yeah.
got to have some of that, I feel like, to strategically position yourselves, because if you're getting pitched on games and you're just saying yes to everything, which is what it feels like they've been doing lately, like your catalog is just all over the place. And then you have certain games like, Hi-Fi Rush, like that game, very critically acclaimed, kind of a cult game probably at this point, but did it have any kind of resonance beyond the people that played it? Not really. No, nobody talks about it. you know
Yeah,
it's
because
faded from the conversation.
it's stuck on Xbox, or yeah, it's stuck on the Xbox. I don't think it's on PlayStation.
No,
Um,
yeah.
it's, it's stuck on Xbox, um, and I'm I don't think it's a system seller game. It's a game. It's a companion. It's a game to have like, oh my god, I'm glad I have this console type game, right?
Right,
I don't
nice
think Nier
surprise,
Automata.
right?
Yeah, I don't think Nier Automata, right, is a system seller game, right? But it's like, oh my god, I have this console and I can play Nier Automata on this game,
But
or
dude,
whatever the case may be.
yeah, no, that's a great point, because I want to circle back to the JRPGs. I never actually made this point. Is Sony has this huge advantage in that space, right? Like they have exclusivity on just basically almost all JRPGs at this point. And your point about Nier is well taken, right? Nier on its own is not a system seller, but Nier, Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 14, Neo 2, Dragon Quest, all of those together, those are system sellers. It's like that's going to
Exactly. It's
convince
the
that, like, you have
catalog.
all these exclusives that are third party like that. That's convincing people on top of the first party stuff to come to your console. And Xbox cannot continue to be second place in that field, because the longer they do that, the harder it is to get out of this hole they've dug with JRPGs. I know they made the push back in the day, but like, dude, you have got to convince these companies to bring their games to your console day and date. And yeah, maybe it'll sell 50,000 copies or something, or 100,000, and it'll be fucking horrible. But at least it might start building some kind of grassroots movement for 10 years from now, where there's more parity between sales, because
Yeah.
you're conditioning your audience that these games are coming, you can expect these games, and it might get people interested in these games in a way that they never were before, because they didn't have them on their console at all. You can't just ignore that whole vertical.
So you know what was interesting about the 360? I thought it was I think they unintentionally did it.
Mm.
But the 360 was the PC more accessible,
Yeah.
right? Like you had a lot of these CRPGs, WRPGs on the 360 and on the OG Xbox actually, that didn't come to PlayStation, or they came to PlayStation super late, and they were day and date on PC and Xbox. And that's why I keep harping home that Western RPG thing, because Xbox has a unique opportunity to overtake the Western RPG market while also pushing that genre forward. And I think they don't understand what a lot of people's vision are for them. Like everyone called it the dude bro console or whatever, but in my opinion, like it was so much more. A lot of people played Oblivion on Xbox. Like if you talk to people, they're like, "Yeah, I played Oblivion on 360, bro. Like I loved Oblivion. It was just so fucking
it didn't
cool."
work on. Skyrim was the same way, because Skyrim didn't fucking work on PlayStation.
Exactly. And so when I think of like Western RPGs, in my mind, I'm thinking Xbox. I'm thinking PC first, and then I'm thinking Xbox. And I
Mass
think
Effect.
Mass Effect.
That was exclusive. That was exclusive for a long time.
Yeah. And for them to let that shit go is actually fucking insane to me.
Yeah, it's wild.
They didn't even fight for it. It's like,
yeah, like, dude, I got an Xbox. I got an Xbox so I could play Mass Effect. in
Exactly.
preparation for Mass Effect 2. And then Mass Effect 2, I didn't play until it came to PlayStation. Like they fucked that up, you know? Um,
Exactly.
yeah,
And I if I was them, I would be fighting EA like, yo, you need more funding? We will give you more funding to make Mass Effect exclusive to Xbox.
yeah,
Guarantee you people will buy an Xbox for Mass Effect. Even if it's the S. People are like, I really want to play Mass Effect though. Like, and if it looks good, and then Dragon Age. Like, you gotta get these games on your console, even if it's like they're coming first to Xbox and then they're coming 2 years later to PlayStation or whatever the case may be. You have to
yeah,
start fighting for this stuff.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost like us in the Dragon Pit, right? Like we're like, no, we need to fight for Vision over the Dragon. Like, oh, they already have Vision, man. Like they're already good, they're already there, and it's like, no, fucking fight for this shit. Even if we lose, we fought for it. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, and that's what they need to do. They need to just fight for it, man. Like,
Yeah, I
and I
think they
understand
like
having
the
an exit
JRG.
strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
but keep
keep going.
going. Yeah, you know,
No,
I
I just think
understand
that
having an exit strategy, but yeah, like it's just, I don't know. They just need to fight for it.
no, and I mean, I think like you got to put your roots in some places, you know. Like I think the JRPG area is such a massive L for them that it's killing them, dude. Like you have got to stop letting Sony do these exclusivity deals with Square Enix. Like you just have got to stop letting this happen over and over and over again. Like start paying Square money so that it's not exclusive. Like obviously this is how weak Xbox is. There is no amount of money they could pay Square to make Final Fantasy 16 or 7, let's just say 17, to make Final Fantasy 17 exclusive to Xbox. That's how weak the console is in that space. Like that the best they're going to be able to do is say, "No, we'll pay you money, a huge amount of money so that A, we get it day and date on Game Pass and that we have it on our console as well as PlayStation at the same time. No exclusivity. We'll pay you so it's not exclusive to PlayStation." Like that's probably the best they're going to be able to swing, but they have to do that. I feel like if they want to like get back into these spaces, because I think that is an element that Sony has that is just like it's not really often talked about. It's just that dude, that third party exclusivity. They have so many games that are coming to them exclusively for nothing. Like they don't even have to pay anything. You know, I think they're doing it with Square specifically. Like I think they are paying Square to make their games exclusive, but dude, like Team Ninja, I don't think they're paying shit for exclusivity there, you know, or at least they weren't when Neo was coming out. They might be doing that for you know, Rise of the Ronin or whatever.
And you
But
know what's funny about Team Ninja? I wouldn't say they were an Xbox game studio, but they made Dead or Alive almost exclusive, like for Xbox. I played Dead or
weren't the
Alive.
Ninja Gaiden games like big
Yes,
Xbox games?
that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like
Yeah.
they were big Xbox games. A lot of people played Ninja Gaiden on
Mhm.
Xbox. Why aren't we tapping into this? Like
And you
it's
let
just,
them go.
and you let them
They became
go.
a Sony exclusive studio. It's crazy, dude. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I think Wo Long was on both actually, but
yeah. Wulong was on both, but it's like even if we don't want to, okay, if you can say like, well, 10 years, 15 years ago, Montrell and Justin, we did try to do the
yeah.
JRPGs. Okay, get third party Western RPGs then. Like, get third party CRPGs.
Nah, bro, Persona 6 has got you cannot let that be a PlayStation exclusive. You cannot
But
let that game be
I'm
a
just,
PlayStation exclusive. Like,
I totally agree with you. But my thing is like, even if you can't get that, right?
yeah.
Even if you can't get that, why were y'all not on Baldur's Gate 3 before Baldur's Gate
True.
3 became a thing?
True, dude. And it was like a question if it was even coming to Xbox when it came out. It's like crazy.
And
Oh.
people, and me, I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, or 2 in particular, on Xbox.
Yeah. Yep.
So why aren't you going to them and being like, hey man, we will give you more money. You can still do whatever the fuck you want to do. Just have it come to Xbox. People on PC, they're gonna buy it. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna buy the game. What Xbox needs to do is what PlayStation's doing. They need to be a companion piece to the PC.
Mhm.
PlayStation's starting to do that now. They're starting to get
Yeah.
all their first party titles on PC now.
Yeah.
They need to start doing that. Like they were the companion to PC, because I used to know a lot of people who had an Xbox and a PC, or they need to be like I don't want to say the replacement, but they need to be like a little a mini PC or something like that, right? Their goal was to always get quote unquote into the living room, and
Yeah.
you can do that still. Like have that same plan, but like show that you can get the same quality of games that you get on PC. You can get
Mhm.
that on Xbox, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't understand why you're not tapping into that market. That market is
Yeah.
super huge. Why aren't you talking to Blizzard right now about getting some kind of fucking console build version of WoW? What are we
Yeah.
doing?
I know, for real. No, they got to be working on that. And dude, I didn't even think about Baldur's Gate 3. What a disaster that is. That came to PlayStation 3 months before Xbox. Like that's a disaster, dude, in my opinion.
Yeah,
That is fucking crazy. Like that should not have been a thing. Like they can't, like the fact that they allow that to happen is nutty to me. So yeah, they're I don't know. Like I think overall it's just like when we talk about this, like we're being hyper negative right now, but I just think we have reason to. The statistics back it up. The way they're
I
talking
don't think
about
we're
things
being
is
hyper
backing it
negative.
up.
I think we're being critical of them. Like they're not
Yeah.
doing their jobs. Like
Yeah.
I,
No,
I, I
they're
don't know.
not. No, they're definitely not. And it's frustrating because they could be doing a lot better. And you know, the idea that they have Blizzard under their belt now, like, dude, they've got to do something with those IPs. I'm sorry, Warcraft and StarCraft in particular are mega IPs that to me are like Blizzard has been underutilizing for a long time. You know, it's like in StarCraft in particular, I think is significantly underutilized by Blizzard. Their vision for StarCraft has just not worked, you know. And they've tried to make a couple games, side like games that were not in the RTS genre, and they failed twice, and that is super disappointing. Microsoft has got to figure out a way to take advantage of that, to tap into that, because dude, if you can make a StarCraft shooter or a StarCraft RPG of some sort, I mean, I don't, dude, I'm telling you that would be fucking huge. It still would be huge today. Like, I think StarCraft still has that resonance, even though it hasn't been a relevant IP for a while now. I still think there is a humongous swell there, where I think if they made the right game, if they made the right game, I think people would come for it. You know, um,
Yeah,
I would,
and
you would,
not
I know we both would if they made the right game. You know,
yeah, and I'm thinking like I don't know, man. Like just think outside the box, right? What if you're not selling well overseas? What's really good here in the states? That's like particularly Western, like American and EU type stuff, right?
mm-hmm.
You got Warcraft or Warhammer games. You can start making games within the Magic the Gathering universe or something like that. Start
Mm,
really tapping into the Western market and just building yourself, like making third party exclusive games. What if you got some kind of third party exclusive Magic the Gathering type game? Not a
mm,
card game, but like something in the universe of it, or the lore, or Dungeons and Dragons, some kind of Dungeons and Dragons exclusive game where it's not necessarily a CRPG, but it's something within the Dungeons and Dragon universe or something of that nature. Or uh a Warhammer game or something like that. Why isn't Space Marines a Xbox exclusive?
yeah.
Like a PC Xbox exclusive. Why isn't that happening right now? You see what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
they don't have to swing the way of the JRPG. They can do their own thing and become the WRPG or the Western console thing, how they used to be. I don't know. It's just weird because a lot of people play Jet Set Radio on fucking Xbox. That was an Xbox
Mm,
exclusive game,
mhm.
and now that's coming. I guarantee you, 100% it's coming to PlayStation.
Yeah. Well, you know what's even worse for Xbox with you're talking about Europe a little bit. They're like Europe sales apparently have cratered for Xbox in recent months. So they're completely losing their foothold there, that any foothold that they had there at all. Which is not good for them either, because they've been dead in Japan for a long time, you know.
Yeah,
But Europe,
and just stop trying to tap into that market. Just tap into other
yeah.
markets, bro.
Yeah. Well, no, that like if you want to get back into Japan, like you have to do what I'm saying, is start building from the ground up and actually having games that Japanese players want to play on your console. It's going to take you 10 years probably to get people back in, but you know, like make that investment now, you know. It's like just start doing it if you want to stick around here. So, I don't know. It's it's something to keep. I mean, obviously, we're going to keep track of this. This is huge. If Xbox wasn't, got out of hardware, I mean, that would be a massive sea change in gaming. But I say that, and then at the same time, part of me feels like not much would change at all. you know, I don't know if it necessarily would be that big of a deal. I almost like, I don't want to see PlayStation have a monopoly on the the traditional console space. But damn, dude, if I could get Game Pass on PlayStation, I would be fucking eating. Like
Yep.
I'd have it all. I'd have it all. So I don't know. It's interesting. This is kind of an interesting situation. So but I mean, Xbox got to make some moves, man. Be creative. Start doing stuff that, like, dude, you've got Blizzard now. Like, start leveraging those IPs, and maybe Blizzard's not gonna like it, or fuck, pitch the games to Blizzard. That's what I'm saying. Go to Blizzard and say, hey, would you guys be interested in making a RPG, a Western style RPG in the Warcraft or Starcraft universe, or both? Is that something that would interest you guys? Are you thinking about doing something like that? And it's like, have that conversation with your fucking studio, and it's like, I really hope they are, because, as much as I hate on Blizzard a lot, and we talk about Blizzard a lot on this podcast in a negative light, like, damn, dude, they still have IPs that are valuable, Warcraft and Starcraft are big. In Diablo to a lesser extent, to me is I don't think Diablo is as big of an IP personally, but maybe that's just my personal perception of things. I just think the game Diablo is big. I don't think people care about the IP itself necessarily. But yeah, I don't know. So I hope to see that. I do. I hope to see that. And like, fuck, do things like fucking remake the Banjo games, the Banjo Kazooie games, like remake Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie. Like, you have a studio now in Toys for Bob, who did the fucking Crash Team Racing remake, didn't they? I believe. Like put them on that. Start having them do that with your catalog. It's like, go through your back catalog and do that shit. Like, dude, I would fucking eat up a Banjo remake. Like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, absolutely. And then you could lead that maybe into a new game. All right, Montrell. So, is there anything else you want to say on the Xbox news?
No, I just really think Xbox. I want Xbox to succeed. I will really think it's an empty gaming space if they leave. But yeah, I just hope they get their shit together.
Word. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, guess what I just did?
What?
We took a little break there for a second. I bought a Steam Deck.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Hey man, the OLED came out. It's looking sexy. That I'm just I decided to do it. So I'm excited, actually. I'm kind of looking forward to this.
Okay. Tell me how much you enjoy it.
No, I certainly will. I'll talk about it on the podcast. Hoping to get it in the next like week or so, but we'll see. You can't do like expedited shipping or anything like that. So, but all right. Well, Montrell, that's all we had for news. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So, a couple things before we go. Next couple weeks. So, schedule. Podcast schedule is not going to change, but the episodes. So next week we're going to be doing our preview of games we're looking forward to in 2024. There's a lot on the list that we'll probably be talking about. And then we plan to do an Attack on Titan retrospective of some sort next week as well. I don't know if that will be part of the episode directly or if that'll be a separate thing. It may end up being separate because those preview episodes tend to be fucking super long. So we don't want to post like a fucking 5-hour podcast. So it may be so there may end up being like two things coming next week. And then 2 weeks from now we'll be doing our game of the year for 2023 discussion. And then the week after that we'll be back into normal news. So we'll let the news build up. If some crazy, absolutely insane shit happens, similar to this like Insomniac leak, we'll probably talk about it, next week or the week after. But otherwise, if it's just a bunch of small stories, we'll just talk about those early in the year next year. So yeah, that's what's coming up there. And then otherwise, let's get into the rigmarole, the ending, the outro here. So if you guys like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that will be it for us, guys. We hope you have a good Christmas holiday or whatever other holiday that you celebrate. We hope you have a great holiday coming up here, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next week.